first things first, today is August 24th, which is John Green's birthday, so happy birthday, John Green. Secondly, power of sadness. So, gonna talk about sadness. Cheery, beautiful day, and now I'm going to talk about sadness. If you know me at all, and I think that I've proven in these videos, that I'm not afraid of sadness. I am not afraid to cry. I am not afraid of what people will think of me if I am sad. And I'm very connected to those emotions. Personally, I am not one to avoid these things, but I think that sadness kind of gets a bad rap. I think that it is perceived as weakness, and I very, very vehemently disagree with that thought process. Because if you have ever had heartbreak, true, legitimate, where you actually feel your heart hurt or your stomach wrench, you know how much strength is required to feel that and to keep going on with living life. You know the strength that is involved in feeling like you literally could just die from sadness, but that you don't. So I don't appreciate that sadness and crying are seen as weak traits, because at least in my personal experience, they are not. It takes a certain level of serious strength to feel sad and to know that crying your eyes out is physically, the physicality of it is a very, very difficult thing. Not being able to breathe because of the snot and the physical heart wrench that accompanies that kind of sadness, and all of the other things that can come from feeling that true pain. And I mean, if you've ever had experienced pain, you know, whether that's a broken limb or giving a birth to a child, you know how much strength is required to feel that pain and to go forward. So crying is just part of that. And I don't believe that it should be seen as weakness. And also just admitting to your sadness. I think there's also a great strength in that. Recently I watched the movie Inside Out, and it was very interesting from my personal perspective, being so close to knowing how sadness is strength, that the character, even the character of sadness, was portrayed as weak, and she would flop around a lot, and she would be very weak in her speech. And thank you for acknowledging your existence in my video. I appreciate you doing that. Whenever you're done, I can wait. And even just her personality was perceived as weakness until, and if you haven't seen the movie, spoiler, so don't listen if you want to watch the movie, and you should, because it's not just a kid's movie, it's a great movie. But after you've watched it, come back and watch the rest of my video. Or don't, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, I never will. But it wasn't until Joy realized that she needed sadness, that sadness was able to be strong and to kind of take control, literally, of the controls in the main character, Riley's head. So it wasn't until Joy, who was technically supposed to be, I guess, the main emotion in this character, it wasn't until Joy realized that she needed sadness to be in control, that sadness was able to be strong enough to take control. Which was very interesting because I there again, if you know me, I'm not a not joyful person, but I'm definitely not primarily driven by joy. I would like to be, but I think that, you know, I'm in my life and in my experiences, I am more closely linked to that feeling of sadness than I am to the feelings of joy. And I'm kind of okay with being that person, but at the same time, I do experience joy. I have experienced quite a few intense joys in my life, but I've always kind of gotten this bad rap about not being a happy person. And that's another thing I think that's always bothered me is I would literally have days where I'm just sort of existing and people are like, what's wrong with you? And that has always driven me nuts because there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just not gonna have a big smile on my face if there's no reason for me to have a big smile on my face. I don't feel the need to promote a feeling that I'm not closely linked to. When you're recording a video on your phone and your phone decides to shut off and you can't tell, that's a thing that happened. Just to finish up my ramblings, don't let people tell you that crying is a sign of weakness, because of the wonderful things he does. Crying is a sign of strength and the willingness to admit your sadness, to feel it, to just feel the heck out of it, and to be able to, despite that soul-crushing pain that can be sadness, to continue living. And there is a real strength in that. Happy birthday, John Green, because sadness and, yeah, I don't know, things. And we will see what happens on Thursday. Alright. Bye. Life is great.